when did you start wholesaling? When did you get into it, and why virtual?
Okay, so I actually started out as a house flipper.
Yep.
I started about 9 years ago. I was 25 years old, so if that tells you how old I am. I know I don't look it, though. I don't look it, obviously. So I started because I just did not want to have a full-time job anymore.
Right.
My daughter, Reese, was about 1 year old, and after having a kid, it's funny how your perspective changes. Like, before you have a kid, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be like a CEO of a company one day, and I'm going to like work 12 hours a day, and it's like career. And then you have a kid, and you realize that like corporate life, having a job and having a child is very hard, especially when both parents have it. There's not someone that is a stay-at-home.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as Reese was born, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to work from home.
Right.
I got to find something that I could do, because I couldn't just not work. My husband at the time, ex-husband now, but husband at the time, he wasn't bringing in enough money to support all of us. So I had to find something that I could do, and I would have done anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it just so happened my brother started flipping houses first.
Okay.
He was flipping houses. Yeah, like I think he had maybe 3 projects ahead of me at that time. And he said, why don't you just start doing what I do? I mean, I think you could, do this and work around Reese. I think you could do it from home and still have, Reese home. And I said, we kind of came up with an equation, like how much money would I have to bring in?
Mm-hmm.
I always love this number. This makes me so happy. When we factored in what I was getting paid on my salary, which was $55,000 a year at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
living in Southern California.
Which
really means like $5,000.
Yeah, I was broke. Like we were like, and I graduated college, but I graduated during a recession.
Right.
So we were post-recession in this moment. So like 55 of stable income was actually good.
Yeah.
I had friends still working as like restaurant servers,
Sure.
Doing part-time work. So this was, at least I had a steady job with benefits. So we took, how much I made minus like the child care.
Mm-hmm.
Child care is insanely expensive, as some of you guys might know.
Mm-hmm.
So we took, minus child care, and I factored in, okay, I'll get health insurance with, my husband's plan. And we minused all the costs, and we realized, because at the time I just found out I was pregnant again. So child care just got doubled.
Mm-hmm.
That really all I needed to bring in to be exactly even with having that full-time job was $36,000 a year.
Okay.
That was it.
$3,000 a month.
So my brother goes, that's like one house that you flipped. One flip in California.
Yeah.
Like you could easily do that. I think you could do 1 flip a year and cover that. Do 2 just to be safe.
Yeah.
So I said, sign me up. Let's go. So
just like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you just start flipping? So you've got $55,000, you got college, you're pregnant, you've got a baby. You don't have a tremendous amount of savings, right?
No, nothing. No money.
So how do you go into flipping houses?
Okay, so I literally had no money, nothing in savings.
Right.
So my brother Dustin gave me some coaching programs. He had 2 coaching programs, and back then they used to come in CDs.
Yep.
So it was like a binder with CDs. This is like how I'm going to date myself.
Mike and I know this.
Yeah, this is what it used to be
library.
like. Yeah, like this binder, CD kind of thing. And I listened to the CDs on my way to work and back. Like that's all I really had time. And some at night. Like I would listen to some stuff at night, Bigger Pockets, podcasts. I would listen to a lot. And in about a week, I finished my first course. And that course was so well done that I really had all the tools.
Who was it? Do you
It was
remember?
Mike Cantu. So I interviewed him on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast.
Yeah.
He's local in my territory.
Got it.
So it was great because it was very local. It's very like relevant for, flipping houses in Southern California. So I listened for 1 week and I figure out from that course, okay, I'm going to do direct to seller marketing. I'm not going to look on the MLS.
Okay.
And what that looks like is direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
So direct mail costs money.
Yeah.
I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So then I had to think, okay, well, where am I going to get that money? And I called up Capital One and I got my credit card limit increased as much as I could, which I think at the time it was like $11,000 was like my max.
You're putting it on credit cards.
Put it on credit cards.
Oh my God.
I was like, all right, I got my marketing budget. Here we go. So.
And you're sending mail in Southern California?
Yes. But this is when people, Brent, this was 9 years ago.
Right.
People weren't doing mail.
Right.
So, or not a lot.
Right.
So my first marketing campaign looked like this. I did exactly what Mike Cantu did. I did everything he did. No, guys, if you are ever buying education, just do what the coach says.
Right.
I copied his letter word for word. I even used the same font. I used the same envelope style. Everything looked the same. And I found someone on Craigslist to handwrite the addresses so they looked personal, because this was before all those machines were out that would do it for you.
Yeah.
So I found someone on Craigslist to do it. I think I don't know, maybe it was like 50 cents a letter, something like that.
And they would handwrite these letters.
Handwrite it, and I'd get it back from her. And she'd even put stamps.
This is somebody local? You just found somebody
someone on Craigslist, yeah. And I got the forever stamps, like the Disney Pixar ones. So it looked very, very personal. And I just started mailing letters. So
to who?
I got a list of absentee owners.
Got it.
That was it, just absentee owners.
Non-owner occupied.
Yep, thinking that these are rental homes, you know. So I start sending to, and I remember I was so scared. Let's talk about limiting beliefs. I was so scared to flip a single family house. For some reason, a condo was in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because condos in California were cheaper at the time. I could probably get one under $200,000 if it was distressed. This is at that time, not anymore. No. But at that time, whereas a single family home, I was more like going to pay $300,000, and that really scared me. And so I'm admitting, like, I had limiting beliefs and fears.
Sure.
So I marketed to condos because that's like what my comfort level was, and I just started sending that to the absentee owners of these condos. And I would just pick cities. I didn't really have a zip code strategy or anything like that. I just picked certain cities. It took me from the day I started mailing to the day I got my first contract signed 4 months. So I was...
That's average, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is. I mean, a different market, and but typically it's, you know, you got to go the 90 days of consistency for sure in anything that you do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you start seeing day 91, day 90, like these things start going. It was day like 120 to 150 for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why it took me so long is I didn't really understand offer pricing.
Yeah.
So this is something that I really stress on, is understanding offer pricing in your area. And I was
comping.
Yeah, comping.
Deal or no deal.
Deal or no deal.
Yeah.
And I was making offer prices based on this very just generic 70%, take your ARV times 70% minus repairs. That was it. Just an out of the box calculation. I would offer it to the seller. If the seller said no, I'd go, okay, we don't have a deal.
Right.
That's all I would do.
Right.
So I ended up having a stack, and this is before I had a CRM. I would write these on pieces of paper. I call them seller lead sheets. And I would write all the details, the address, seller scenario, what I offered, what they said they would take. And I eventually had this stack of seller lead sheets that were going nowhere.
Right.
Like I didn't know what to do with them. I was like, they want too much money. Finally, after 4 months, my brother goes, well, what are you doing? Let me see who you've been talking to. So he looks through my lead sheets and he goes, wait, what about that one?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it doesn't meet 70% minus repairs. He's like, no, but I don't care. Like, that's a good spread right there on that. Like, the seller said he'd take that, call him up now.
Yeah.
Called him up. The guy still was willing to take it.
Awesome.
Got my first flip deal.
Awesome.
So me and my brother, Dustin, came up with the financing. He had a private money lender that he'd already been working with.
So you squatted up with your brother.
Squatted up, yeah. And we, split that thing. The first, I always say my first deal was bought on the last day of the recession because that property went up 10% in value when I bought it. And so we ended up making $67,000 on that flip by the time we flipped it, and we split it 50-50. So
how'd that feel?
It felt amazing. Now, really, what was amazing
about it? You covered your year.
What was incredible about it was I was working a full-time job still. So I was still working corporate. I was making $55,000 a year. So now I just got an extra $33,000 to add to like my salary. In my head, I'm thinking salary. So that's the most money I'd ever made in my life, And the other thing was I said, I will quit my full-time job when I have $55,000 in my bank account. I will quit my full-time job. So at this point, I am now about 5-6 months pregnant-ish. So I still got some work to do because I really didn't want to go back to work with 2 kids.
Right.
I was like hoping I'd quit on my maternity leave.
Yep.
So luckily, as I was flipping that first deal, we were in process, I think it was maybe in escrow, I had gotten another contract on a very similar condo, almost exact same numbers, made another 65 with my brother, split it in half. I ended up having the money.
And the rest?
So I was able to not go back to work. And I remember the
Ever?
It was the biggest day ever, you guys. I had imagined this day in my head. In my head, I imagined the day that I would walk outside on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the afternoon outside of my house.
Yeah.
And know what that felt like.
Right.
Because, like, what does Tuesday in the morning look like when you have a corporate job? It looks like your office building.
Yeah.
You
Always.
know?
Yep.
So I remember that was a big day to call my boss and say I'm not coming back. And they thought it was because I was going to stay home with my kids, but no, it wasn't. I just didn't feel like telling them.
Right.
So that's how I got started. That's the deal that started everything. From then on, I mean, big journey. I was local until I couldn't be local anymore. And that's where we can talk about that.
So the marketing channel didn't work anymore.
Correct.
Because people figured out. I mean, listen, doing marketing is the lowest barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. It truly is, right? I mean, as long as you have some funds, you can send out mail and start, taking some action that way, right? It's not like you have to pick up the phone and call strangers or door knock. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're sending out mail and you're out there and and you're getting a response. You're just more getting the response that you were used to.
Yes, yes. And what I attribute that to, and if you guys can take this concept home with you, is that our business is dependent on us getting discounted properties.
That's it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a discounted property, you need to be able to convince a property owner to sell to you at a discount, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be in an area where sellers are easier to convince.
Right.
That's a big concept for people to understand. So
do you think that in Southern California, because everybody knows that property values have skyrocketed, that they just
bingo,
they want retail plus?
Bingo.
Right.
And that's happening all over the country in a lot of different markets that weren't like that before.
Okay.
So Phoenix is a perfect example.
Yeah.
There was a lot of seller distress in Phoenix for many, many years. And then Phoenix started heating up. Mm-hmm. And now sellers are very aware that people are leaving California to move to Phoenix. Property values are going up. Mm-hmm. So now wholesalers are having a harder time convincing a seller to take a discount. So I ran into that situation. Property values were going up in Southern California. To give you context, Southern California's average house price today is $850,000 in my territory, Orange County.
Right.
So $850,000. You try to convince a seller to take even a 20% discount on that home. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're going to tell you to go pound sand.
Yeah.
So, but if you move yourself, and so what I ended up having to do, as I said, I had two choices, and this happened in 2015. I realized the lake
6
is
years.
drying.
Yeah. Okay.
The lake is drying up. I can either get a job and quit this thing, or I have to find another market to diversify myself so not all of my eggs are in California's basket.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing that because getting a job was my last resort.
Okay.
So that's where I went virtual.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And virtual in what markets?
My first market was Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And the first thing I did was I built houses, ground up construction. That was my first virtual venture.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Actually, it was really easy.
Really?
It's flipping that's a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah, ground up is not that hard because you're buying land, you're getting, an architect to draw up plans. You have a contractor or builder, they call them, to give you a quote. And as long as you don't make changes to the fixtures and finishes, your quote's going to stay the same for the most part. Whereas flipping when you're virtual, the contractor can make some adjustments. The contractor can say, ooh, opened up the walls and didn't see this and didn't see that. So
unexpected expenses.
More unexpected expenses, for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then you got into virtual and doing deals and deals and deals, wholesaling.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about today. Because
Yes.
people are going to have questions. Guys, if you have questions, make sure that you're starting to put them in the comments section. Alejandra is going to be pulling out all the questions. That's the point of the show. We're just warming this thing up so that you guys understand the experience that Lauren has had. And we're going to really deep dive into some of these questions. So What markets are you in now?
In 4 markets.
Okay.
And the markets I'm in now can change next year.
Okay.
So,
You're flexible.
Yeah, I'm very flexible.
And you can pick up and move.
Yes. One of the reasons I'm in 4 markets is because 2 of my markets is in a state that's passing the wholesaling legislation that's going to make it difficult for wholesalers.
Got it. Well, you
And-
need to get a license.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we don't even know the language yet. We still don't know where it's going. So I wanted to have, a backup.
Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah, so that's the benefit is you can kind of pick up and move. And the reason I wanted to kind of give you guys like the whole like timeline was like so you can kind of understand then why I actually ended up wholesaling.
Right.
Because wholesaling was better.
Okay,
In the
go
end,
for it.
it was
Sorry.
like I was like house flipping. And house flipping, if you're in your backyard, house flipping is very fun. It's very creative. It definitely fulfilled me creatively, which I liked. But when you can't be local, it won't really fulfill you creatively because you can't be there anyway.
You're not feeling it. You're not touching
feeling it. You're not meeting your contractor. You're just getting ripped off most of the time. Like there's more problems and headaches than.
Got it.
So I realized okay.
Guys, listen, this has been true across the board. I mean, unless you have your own staff that moves somewhere or you really, really, really establish a territory, if you just get in there to do flips in other states, you're going to have to deal with shenanigans.
Shenanigans, big time.
For real.
Yeah.
If you like that video, hit that subscribe button. We come out with new videos every single day. And if you want your questions answered, like you and I, one-on-one, make sure that you join us for the live show every single Wednesday. I will see you there.